that's where they gain the confidence. They've overcome something. They've passed, that point of fear. And that's like a little tiny hit, right? And then you start to add those up, and those little tiny wins end up accumulating, as you said, over time into something really big. And I think that's one of the reasons why it is so powerful. Whether it is on the strength floor, or you're running, or you're hiking, right? It's, you're doing a little bit more than you did yesterday.
An entrepreneur straight out of New York City, Michael Chernow. What's cracking?
What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Kreatures of Habit Podcast. I'm sitting across someone who has more life, more energy, more positivity than most people you come across in your day-to-day life. Her name is Hollis Tuttle. Hollis is a fitness expert. She is a coach. She did not start her career that way. She's one of these people that kind of had a very academic upbringing and lifestyle, and then for whatever reason was drawn to the world of wellness. And I totally relate to her, and I'm sure a lot of you listening do as well. Hollis has a business called House of Hustle, where she really focuses on working with women in their 40s to give them their life back, give them empowerment, for women that feel that they are potentially straying in a direction that doesn't make them feel good about themselves. Hollis really gives them tools and energy to feel awesome. And Hollis also is part of the Kreatures of Habit squad. She joined the Kreatures of Habit community the internal community about, maybe 4 months ago, and has been absolutely killing it. She's an amazing person to have on the team. And so I'm super excited to introduce you to Hollis. Hollis, welcome to the Kreatures of Habit Podcast.
Thank you. It is such a pleasure to be here. That was an amazing introduction.
Was it?
Yes, I really appreciate that.
Of course.
I would like to carry you around with me.
It's the story of the person who got a degree in nutritional science and then was going to go to medical school and then decided medical school wasn't the path, but then took an MBA in real estate development business and then got into real estate and then decided that this just wasn't for them and said, screw it, I'm going to do what makes me happy.
100%.
Tell me about that.
I had about a quarter-life crisis. On paper, I was incredibly successful. I was in my late 20s. I owned several houses. I traveled the world. I drove a sports car. Like, life was grand. And inside, I was very unhappy. I just felt like I didn't have a purpose. And I wanted to go back to what made me happy, which is helping others live their best life. And so once I hit 30 and decided I'm making that change, every decision I made past that point was with that in mind. And so it meant changing my lifestyle. I mean, I went through some rough times as I was adjusting, right, to that change of income. Drastically reduced my earnings and had to come to that realization that, I do need to actually count my pennies, because they do matter.
So I want to just unpack that a tiny bit, because I think that's a really great thing to talk about. So you go from this place where you're making a lot of money.
Yes.
And on the outside, materially, people are like, holy smokes, Hollis is killing it.
Yes.
And you got the car, you got the houses, you're traveling, you're probably flying first class. When you decide that is not fulfilling, you make a conscious decision, okay, this is not actually making me happy, right? That's such a profound realization, because so many people believe that those things, the car, the house, the flights, the travel, the lavish dinners, the whatevers, is you've made it.
Yeah.
What did that feel like when you were like, I have all these things, I'm not happy? It takes courage.
Yeah.
To not only realize that, but then to say, you know what, I'm going to make the change. So what was the thought?
I feel very fortunate that I have an incredibly supportive family. and they trust me in the decisions that I make. So when I told them that I was going to be leaving real estate and I was going back to pursue health and wellness, focusing on nutrition, they said, okay, go for it. And that gave me the courage to do it. But once I made that decision, it was liberating. It was so incredibly freeing to know that I was pursuing something that made me happy. And the struggles that came along with that were worth it. And recognizing that every struggle I hit and overcame just made me that much stronger. I had to practice it a bit, right? I had to get through those first couple of speed bumps to realize like, I can survive this too. And just like anything else, the more you practice it, the more adept you become at overcoming it. And I think that those are such valuable lessons to learn. And I go back to that time and time again. So
what do you think when you're in it? Because I also feel the same kind of, or live by the same philosophy, which is basically like how you feel right now is temporary. No matter how you look at it, it is going to change in one way or another.
Correct.
This too shall pass is something I genuinely believe in. But what did you lean on anything in particular when you were going through those times where you were like, oh my gosh, like I don't have the money that I used to have. This is scary. Like I genuinely feel anxiety about the future. Was there anything that you kind of leaned on to just sort of get you through?
My work ethic. I'm incredibly hardworking. And as my father likes to say, stubborn. So I don't shy away from the work. I don't shy away from the dirty work, and had to roll up my sleeves and do what it took to get through that. So when I talk about the house of hustle, when I talk about hustling, I hustle. And even right now, I'm rebuilding my life once again for like the 4th time. And that hustle is back in play. And I'm thankful that I have that in me. And now I look back and know, well, I've done it before. I can do it again. And is it just as hard? Yes. But I also know that I am resilient and I can work through that hustle. But I also do rely on habits. I am very, very structured and habitual with my day because that structure helps give me a sense of calm. So when everything else is chaotic, when everything else is up in the air, I control what I can control. So that always starts with my morning. I get up at 4 a.m. I am wired that way. I choose to get up at 4 a.m. and start
with
or
without an alarm?
Without an alarm, I normally wake up at about 3:45. That happened this morning, right? I always set it because just in case, but my body just knows because I've been doing it for so long. And I meditate in the morning.
So let's walk through your full morning routine.
Yeah. So once I wake up, I start with my meditation, and I have a nice little meditation cushion in the corner by my tree. And after I meditate, make coffee.
Do you do any specific type of meditation? Like, what does your meditation look like?
Right now, I'm using Headspace, so it's a guided meditation. It's just about 10 minutes, but I find that that's enough for me. Sometimes I'll sit there a little bit longer if I need it, just the quiet. And then when my coffee's brewing, I take all my supplements. And then I take my first cup of coffee back to bed, and I climb under the sheets and get nice and cozy. And that's where I journal. So I keep a gratitude journal. And once I journal, I read. So I reserve the morning time for educational or inspirational or self-development books. Right now it's working on another certification, constantly learning. And then I go to the gym. So I am at the gym by 5:30, Monday through Friday. Pretty close to that Saturday and Sunday. So that way I start my morning feeling like I've not only accomplished a lot, but I've given back to myself so that when the day comes, I'm the best version that I can be.
You're preaching to the choir here, girl. You know, like it's so interesting that I've gone through so many different iterations of my morning routine. And I, for years, had like a very, very kind of multi-step, you know, and I'm in a season right now where I'm giving myself grace, and it's also hunting season. So I've like, it's, you know, I've really kind of put my morning routine on the burner for a little while and have been out in the woods. But I think that having a structure in the morning, if there's anything that anybody listening to this podcast can take away from this one episode, it is so important to have some sort of a structure in the morning. And it doesn't have to be some crazy thing. It doesn't have to be meditation and reading and writing and all those things, although it can be, because I know it's so helpful. And when I am doing that stuff, like sauna, cold, affirmations, reading, journaling, like when I'm doing all those things, like the truth of the matter is people could roll their eyes at me, which they do all the time.
Oh yeah, I get that a lot too.
Yeah, right? Like
yes.
You could roll your eyes as much as you want, but at the end of the day, like how I feel when I'm done with those things at 6 o'clock in the morning, impenetrable.
Exactly. And recognizing that it can change and recognizing that you are in a season and you can always go back to it if you need it, I think is also really powerful because it shows a sense of awareness as well. And right now, this is what I need. It may change, right? I may need something different next year. It all depends. But as long as I have some sort of structure there to help kind of hold me in place, right? So I have like those guidelines or like the alleyway on the bowling alley, right? And then I can just play in the lines. But I know that I'm there.
It's so funny too, because like I think habits, self-care habits are like a prerequisite for success in everything else in life.
Yeah.
You know, like when I'm tired at 9:15 and I'm getting ready for bed, and like the last thing I want to do is like floss my teeth, wash my face, put on a serum, put on moisturizer, like the little things that take 2 to 3 minutes, like I could easily forego, but I never do, because I just know that the commitment that I make to these things are going to allow me to make commitments to other things in my life.
100%. And that's why I always focus on just show up, right? The hardest thing for most people to do is to show up. Wherever that may be, in whatever capacity that may be. And so once you've made that decision to show up, you have overcome the biggest hurdle. Then just start to move. Let's say we're talking about the gym, for example. People have a really hard time getting to the gym or getting to a workout class or starting the run, right? Just show up and just start to move and allow your body to find a rhythm. Allow your breath to kind of settle in. And then kind of evaluate how you feel, right? So that momentum is rolling. And once that momentum is rolling, it's a heck of a lot easier to stay in motion. And then you can ride it all the way through.
I think people, I think it's no fault of their own. I think we've been sort of like post-wired. I don't want to say pre-wired, but post-wired to believe that things are going to make us feel fulfillment, right?
Yeah.
Things are going to do it. And so that's why people spend a lot of their energy worrying about the things.
Yeah.
But what I've learned, and obviously what you've learned, is that it's not the things, it's the focus on inside.
Yes.
The focus on taking action for a true win.
Yeah.
A win that feels, how many people do you know walk out of a fitness class or a gym session feeling worse than when they've walked in?
Rarely ever happens, if at all. No one ever tells me, gosh, I really wish I didn't come to class today. I never hear that.
Right.
Instead, I hear, I'm so glad I made it. I almost didn't come, but I did it. Like, that's awesome.
You built a massive community when you were working with Lululemon.
I did. Yeah.
And so why don't you talk to us about like transitioning from being like a lead coach at Mirror to now your current business, House of Hustle?
I loved my job. When I was a trainer for Mirror, which then became Lululemon Studio, because it gave me this bigger platform. I would go to work feeling so grateful because I had the opportunity to have a positive impact, not on 20 people or 30 people, but on thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people. And I felt that was such a gift. So it was always such an amazing thing to step onto set and to watch those lights go on and to do what I do and for the lights to go off. And then the beautiful thing with Instagram is that you get all the little messages at the end. And so I was able to actually create relationships with people from all over the nation who I've never met in person, but because they welcomed me into their home on a daily basis, and because I was able to communicate with them, we became a community. And once again, another beautiful gift that I never would have imagined happening, that I'm so incredibly thankful for. So wanting to bring those people together in real life was when I first started my retreat business, because I wanted people to meet each other, because they had only met each other digitally as well. And I wanted to meet them. So when I held my first retreat in Costa Rica earlier this year, it was the most amazing experience. I think we all cried like every single day because we were all so amazed that we could be together.
How many people were there?
I did 17 per, so 34 in that 2-week period. It was a lot. But it was amazing. And when Lululemon decided to close studio, I went into a depression that I had never felt in my life. And I had read somewhere not too long ago that losing your job is like losing somebody important in your life. And that hit hard. I felt that very deeply. And it took me a while to figure out what that next move was, because I was in a hole. And I felt incredibly heavy, incredibly unhappy. And I knew that I wanted to continue to connect with people, to continue to help people live a more healthful life. And I just had to figure out what form that would take. And that's when I created the House of Hustle. So keeping the wellness retreats in play and building out a strength app and offering the nutrition to help support that. I myself, as an athlete, love strength training. I love feeling strong, especially as a small female. When I feel like I can lift anything and everything, it makes me feel really good and confident in other aspects of my life, not just on the strength floor. And that's something that I try to instill in others. So I'm definitely leaning more towards the strength side and helping people build that strong exterior to help fortify the interior. And when both are equally resilient, I think then you have an unlimited potential. And that's what I try to do.
I think you and I are around the same age.
Oh, I'm older.
Are you?
I am. I'm 48.
Okay. Well, you've got a couple years on me. It's so interesting that people, like, I remember when I was in my 20s and thinking about somebody in their mid 40s.
I know that was old, right?
Old.
I know.
Old. Legit.
Yeah.
And people like you and I have completely flipped that on its head.
100%.
Like I don't feel old at all. I don't feel like interestingly, I did do a biological age blood test.
How old are you, biologically speaking?
26.
Ooh, nice. I'm 36.
I was blown away. I couldn't believe it. And I've been working with this company for the last 2 years to optimize all of my blood biomarkers. But blokes, thank you. You guys have helped me out a lot. But I think it's so important for people like you to be connecting with people in midlife. Right?
Yes,
that,
exactly.
Like, feel it's the same as the, like, fear is a story that we create, right?
Yeah.
Fear is a story that we create in our minds for the most part. There's obviously things that are scary, but like fear is really a story that we create, that we write ourselves. It's fully fiction and we believe it. And, and especially when there's other people around us that co-sign it.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, you're in your
sure.
40s, like it's probably too late. You probably can't build any muscle in your 40s, And I just think it's so important for people like you that are doing this, that are out there trying to empower people that are in midlife and saying, hey, like, F all of that, I can only imagine the transformations that you've seen.
It's amazing.
So I've got a question for you. So how do you convince someone, specifically in the female gender, that strength training is the way?
I do what I say, and I use myself as an example a lot. I am very committed to my own personal fitness and my own nutrition. And I mean, I do double days 3 days a week. And I don't think I look big and bulky. Yes, I have a lot of muscle. Yes, I have a lot of definition, but I'm not like a incredible Hulk. So I use that as an example when people are scared that they're going to get bulky.
That's a big one, right?
It is a big one. And it's I think starting to go away, thank goodness, but the amount of food that one must eat and the amount of weight that one must lift to become quote unquote big and bulky is insane. It's not going to happen by accident, whether you're male or female. It takes, as you know, so much hard work and eating that it's really, really challenging. And so
it's
I think
so funny that people think that all of a sudden their body is going to grow all this muscle without eating a lot of food.
Right.
It's like I was competing in bodybuilding for years and I just could not get behind personally. And especially doing natural bodybuilding.
Oh yeah.
You know, you have to, the amount of food that I would have to eat in a bulk season. Like my coach was like, Mike, you just have to eat more.
Yeah.
Like
it becomes a full-time job.
He was like, you have to eat 4,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
And I was like, Teddy, I can't do it. I can't do it. Like, I don't feel good doing it. But he was like, okay, no problem. But I'm just telling you, like, you want to compete. So you're not a big guy. If you want to compete, you got to do this.
Yeah.
And it's so funny that people just think that like, oh shoot, all of a sudden I'm going to start lifting weights and get get big and bulky. Like I would, I coach dudes every once in a while too. And they're like, yeah, I just don't want to get big. I want to get huge. And I'm like, brother, you have no idea what it takes to get huge.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the guys that you see that are quote unquote huge are legitimately, they've built a career around eating. Their career is eating every 2 hours an enormous amount of food so that their body can actually use that food to grow. Your body cannot grow without consumption.
Exactly.
It just can't.
Yeah.
It can't. And so I think that I would say it's probably the biggest misnomer about strength training for both men and women.
Definitely.
And
when I created my first program for House of Hustle, I was very thoughtful in the way that I put it together because most people know me from online. And I would predominantly teach strength classes or strength and conditioning classes or cardio classes. And as somebody who does what she says, I would do the entire class while teaching. And so it was always like we were in it together. And that's something that I'm really, really committed to. Like, I'm there with you no matter what. If I ask you to do something, I'm going to do it with you. We're going to do this together, right? Together we're so much stronger. Like, I truly believe that. And so I recorded like a warm-up. And so then everyone would just press play. We would do the warm-up together. And then I built a strength program where you actually do what I say. You track your reps, you track your weights, you do that for 4 weeks. It progresses to another 4 weeks. And then I recorded 8 finishers, 4-minute Tabatas, an 8-minute AMRAP, 6-minute EMOM, whatever it may be. So then they would have a selection to choose from. So then they would finish with me. So it was like a sandwich. So and then I just like snuck the strength in there. Like, you know how people will sneak like spinach or carrots into the meatloaf? It was like my way of sneaking it in.
The sandwich technique, I love it.
Exactly. And then once I started receiving feedback from members using it and how much they loved the tracking and then how much more they were lifting because they had the data in front of them and how much stronger they were feeling. And now people are repeating that entire 8-week program again, but starting off heavier. It's like, it worked, it worked. So I think I try to encourage people as much as possible. Just try. You never know what's possible until you try. And like, don't sell yourself short. And if you don't like it, you don't like it, but how can you say it if you don't try?
I have done so many different modalities of fitness over the last 20 years.
Me too.
And
I think all of them.
Yeah, all of them. For the first 10 years, it was full dedication, Muay Thai, kickboxing. That was like my first Muay Thai and running. Those were the two things that I did. I was light, I was lean.
Yeah.
And I was like a fighting machine. And I loved it. I loved it. But I love nothing more than lifting weight.
It feels so good.
I love lifting weights.
Okay, in the moment, there are moments when
It's hard as hell.
Here?
Yeah,
Yes, when I'm like, fuck, that was really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. And scary.
It's scary, especially when like you have a bar across your back.
Yeah.
But when that set is done and those endorphins hit, or like when you walk away from a really hard workout and that sense of accomplishment feels so good. I wish that I could bottle that up.
Me too.
And sell that. But guess what? You can't. And like, you can't order that on Amazon. I say that all the time. You cannot order that on Amazon. That's like the one thing that your credit card will not buy. You have to put the work in, right? And I think you have to train it just like anything else. So start small, start slow.
I mean, if I had to point to one thing that has taught me pretty much all the lessons I need to know to be a successful business person, to be a successful father, to be a successful husband, I have to point it to fitness. I do.
Yes.
I have to point it to fitness.
I do as well. So personally, when I was in my 30s, I was in a very difficult marriage. And I honestly believe that my dedication and my commitment to my strength training gave me the confidence that I needed to leave my ex-husband. And that saved my life.
There it is.
There it is.
We did it. We did it.
I was going to try not to. That is my biggest why. Yes, to help people live a more healthy life. Yes, to help people live a longer, more healthy life. But to have the confidence to do those really big, scary things outside of the fitness space is more powerful than anything else.
I am so aligned with you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being vulnerable. People are looking for things.
Yeah.
People are looking for things. And I have a lot of people that come onto this podcast that it's no surprise that use fitness as a tool for freedom.
That's my number one value is freedom. I had to fight for my freedom, and I hold on to that so tight. So I definitely connect the two.
Some people will say you're obsessed or you've replaced your addiction to drugs and alcohol to fitness and nutrition or mindfulness, whatever it is. And my response to that is, okay.
Yeah.
All day for me. And as long as I'm not, and there's been definitely times over the years where like, if I didn't get to train, it would affect me in a negative way, right? And there's still times that does show up for me because of how important training is for my mental state, way more than like my physical appearance. That said, like I can't point to another consistent action with patience applied that will make you feel any better mentally, physically, and spiritually than exercise. I just can't point to one. And I know meditation is powerful. Prayer is powerful. Journaling is powerful. Reading self-dev is powerful. Walking is powerful. Exercise. But I really think anybody listening that is looking for the thing, the pill, the switch, what I'm here to say is it exists. It's just for that switch to turn on and actually the lights to shine bright, it's going to take time. It exists though.
100%.
If you're looking for it, it freaking exists and it's alive in our lives. You know, people have said to me things over the years, oh, you know, like how do you get a six pack? And I'm like, 15 years of commitment.
Right.
You know, like if you're looking for a quick fix, you know, it's not going to happen. And so what I say is commit to if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling directionless, if you're feeling unfulfilled. The 3 C's that are so powerful in my life are commitment, number 1, hardest thing, commitment. You make a decision and you stick to it.
Yeah.
But with commitment, consistent commitment, for a specific thing, let's use training for an example, it is going to give you confidence.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, the second C. Confidence is required for courage, which is the third C. And courage is what people write books about. And the easiest, most efficient, most tried and true, proven way for me in my life, I can't talk for anybody else, but I would imagine for you in your life, obviously you were just brought to tears around it. The easiest way to build courage, which is ultimately what people really want, love and courage, is through fitness. It's through moving your body in a way that is going to make you feel good, look good, and perform well.
Yes, and what you said earlier too when we were talking about strength training is that it can be a little frightening or a little scary, right? And so when somebody does something that they've never done before, let's say they've lifted a weight they've never done before, or they hit a reps count that they've never hit before, that's where they gain the confidence. They've overcome something. They've passed, that point of fear. And that's like a little tiny hit, right? And then you start to add those up, and those little tiny wins end up accumulating, as you said, over time into something really big. And I think that's one of the reasons why it is so powerful. Whether it is on the strength floor or you're running or you're hiking, right? It's, you're doing a little bit more than you did yesterday. And gosh.
What does your training look like now?
Well,
Yeah.
where do I begin? So right now I do strength Monday, Wednesday, Friday, mornings and afternoons. And
how do you split it up?
My morning full body, dumbbells, barbells. And then I'm also a strength coach at the Fort here in New York City. I love that team. So we do coach prep. And one of the things that I love about being a coach for the Fort is that the coaches are required to do the same workouts that we're coaching. Once again, it's like putting action behind your words. And so I do those workouts with them, more barbell, more dumbbell, a little bit of ESD at the end, which we call the THAW, test of heart and will.
What is ESD?
Energy system development. So same idea, just like if you're doing an EMOM or an AMRAP or something at your workout, getting the heart rate elevation and so forth. So I am on that program in the afternoons. And then Tuesday, I do speed work on the treadmill. So I love running. I was a triathlete in college, big runner. For the past several years, I've been running ultras. And so I used to coach at Mile High Run Club and used to write and deliver treadmill classes, all choreographed to music. And so I still do that for myself. I was like, why am I keeping this to myself? I should share this. So I send it out every Monday night to 45 people. And so we do that on Tuesday.
And what do those speed work sessions tend to look like?
So usually about an hour of work for me. I elongate the warm up a bit just so I can get a little more distance in my legs before I hit the first speed. But usually I'll have a nice long warm up. I'll do some pickups, hit some hills. And then depending upon the program, I'll do hill repeats, I'll do speed repeats, maybe a progression, maybe a combination hill and speed. And it's all synced to music. So if you're in a hard effort, it's going to be driving hard beat to keep you going. And in a recovery, it's a little bit softer. And so I love it. It just brings me pure joy. And then on Thursday mornings, I do zone 2 training. So just getting at least 45, 65, 75 minutes, consistent zone 2, slow, easy.
What does that pace look like for you?
For me, it's pretty darn slow, around 9-minute mile pace. I know slow is all relative. Speed is relative, right? But it's pretty just easy. Just feels good. I can just cruise, which is really nice. And then I go and teach yoga. I also teach yoga at Lion's Den. And then I stay and I take yoga. And then on Saturdays, I do my longer runs, so 10 and above. And then I coach. Sundays, yoga and just walk, active recovery walk. And that's pretty much what I do. And it's in my calendar. I put everything into my calendar, and that way, I know where it is. I know that it's getting done, and I encourage my clients to do the same thing. I encourage you to do the same thing. Put it in your calendar. And like the night before, I lay out my outfit, I pack my bag, I have my, my recovery drinks and my fuel already prepped. So once again, it just becomes really easy, right? I don't have to think about it. I don't have to wonder what am I going to do tomorrow?
What is that recovery fuel?
It's meal one. Seriously, life-changing. I absolutely love it. I love to play around with the different, as I say, recipes. I don't really cook. I like to compose things. I put things together. So for me, it's like a big deal when I'm like, ooh, I'm going to try a little cinnamon in this one. Maybe I'll try a little vanilla powder. I don't know, so I kind of mix it up a little bit, but I love it. It's amazing. It's perfect.
What does your wind down routine look like?
Oh gosh. As you can tell, I'm pretty high energy for most of the day until I'm not. But honestly, the creature sleep has been phenomenal. I love it.
Me too.
It's so good. I look forward to it. Like, I normally go to bed and I look forward to the cup of coffee the next morning. Like, I am super stoked about that first cup of coffee. And now once I get past lunchtime, I'm like, ooh, I get to have my creature sleep soon.
It's so funny because I do the same
good.
thing. Like dinner's typically done at like 6:45, and I know between 6:45 and 8:30, I'm focused on family and kids and doing that thing. At 8:30 though, I love that warm, rich chocolate cup of creature sleep.
It's so good. And I'm a big reader. So I will cuddle up with my creature sleep and my book. And okay, also, I do eat a black and white cookie almost every day from Empire Cakes. It's to the point now where I touch the door handle to open it and they already have it waiting for me. And I was gone over the Thanksgiving break. I went back home to stay with my family. And when I went back earlier this week, they're like, where were you?
Oh my God, that's so funny.
We really missed you.
When the cookie spot is like, where were you?
Yeah, I know, right?
And I just want to stop there and just say, I think that's so amazing that you do that. I think it's so amazing that you do that. You put a lot of hard work in.
Yeah.
People think that people that are fit, just eat broccoli and twigs. And at the end of the day, having a cookie, a black and white cookie, something that you look forward to and love and is so delicious every single day or almost every single day is totally, totally warranted and should be absolutely enjoyed, without any guilt.
Exactly, because food is meant to nourish us, right? And I believe that also means nourishing our heart and soul. And if it makes you happy, then that's something that's really good. So it makes me happy.
But put in the work too.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
Yes.
Don't eat cookies and not.
No, there has to be some balance there for sure. Yeah.
So you what time do you typically start your wind down?
Oh gosh, because I do get up so early, I try to eat my dinner around 5 or 6. My poor friends, they know when we all go out, they're like, oh, we have to fit Hollis in. So I usually will start that wind down 7:30, 8, just because I do want to be in bed and lights out by 9. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I gratitude journal at the end of the day as well. Just a little short, paragraph or two. And then that's it.
What does your sort of bedroom sleep situation look like? Anything?
Well, I live in a studio, so it's all just one big room.
Mm-hmm.
And I do turn down the lights. So I try to bring the lights down. I usually open the window. So I like the fresh air. No matter the time of year, I like the fresh air. And then I can kind of cuddle up under the blankets. And sometimes I'll listen to some mellow music as well. So it's kind of quiet.
Just because nutrition's a big part of your life and you coach people on nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
What does your nutrition plan look like? What is your? I assume that you're similar to me, where you try to eat, or you probably eat a lot of the same things. That you love.
Yes.
What is meal 1, meal 2, meal 3, meal 4 look like for you?
I keep it super, super simple. So in the morning, it's either meal 1 or a smoothie, and I make those so they have close to 50 grams of protein per. So that way I'm starting my day with 50 grams of protein. Lunch is usually some combination of egg or turkey meat or cottage cheese and some sort of tortilla. I really like those egg tortillas right now. Those are amazing. And
It's a tortilla made out of egg?
Egg whites. Yeah.
Oh, I got to find those.
They're amazing. 25 calories, 5 grams of protein. And
no gluten?
No, it's gluten-free.
Where do you get them?
Whole Foods.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Okay, I got to get those.
I think it's Egg Life, I think.
That's awesome.
They're great.
Do you have to keep them cold?
I keep in the fridge, everything else. So I feel like a tortilla is the best vehicle to get anything into your mouth. So usually like turkey meat, cucumbers, carrots, bell peppers. I love microgreens. The green sauce from Jack's wife Frida. I have no idea what's in it. It's green. It's delicious. Something along those lines. And dinner is usually, once again, I compose. I don't cook. Some sort of chicken. I do bake the chicken though. And I make really big salads. I'm kind of a pro at the salad making. So a mixture of greens and pomegranates and strawberries or blueberries and cucumbers and scallions. And I just make my dressing on top. But I do measure out like the olive oil, for example. And I always track to ensure that I'm getting the protein and the fiber. So I shoot for about 130 grams of protein a day, shoot for at least 30 grams of fiber a day. And that's really what I keep my eye on.
Are you traditionally like lower carb?
I just go off of kind of how I feel, but as somebody who functions at a higher intensity, more often than not, I do fine with the carbs, but mostly fruits and veggies. I eat a lot of fruits and veggies. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel best when my carb intake is meal 1 in the morning and then fruit and vegetables throughout the rest of the day. Like if I'm in like a wintertime kind of bulk, put them on, I'll incorporate rice. Quinoa is something that I really do love though. Quinoa like sits really light in my stomach. So do you snack?
No.
Never.
If I do, then I know that my lunch wasn't big enough. It's like that. It's a good little reminder for me. And if I do, it's usually a fruit and a protein.
Like a meat stick?
I love meat sticks or hard-boiled eggs. So I always have hard-boiled eggs in my fridge. I always have cottage cheese in my fridge. I always have cartons of egg whites in my fridge. And like last night, for example, I didn't have time to prep like a normal dinner. So I looked in my fridge. I'm like, I have egg whites, I have cottage cheese, I have enough to make a salad. And I just kind of like threw it all together. But I looked at my macros and I was like, oh, that's pretty solid. And it was delicious, So as long as I have those staples, then I know that I'm fine. I don't cook anything fancy, so it's pretty easy.
And you use cottage cheese
I do.
For protein for the most part.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Low fat cottage cheese. High protein. Low calorie. I like the flavor. It can go savory, it can go sweet.
You can add whatever you want to it.
100%. Yeah.
You got to check out a company called Monocora Honey.
Oh, yes. Well,
I am
the
obsessed.
bee is my logo.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that is my one tattoo. So I need to add to her.
I'm obsessed with this.
What
honey.
do you put it on?
Everything.
Everything.
I mean, they've got, so Monocora, the cool thing about them, I mean, Manuka honey is like one of the most like nutrient dense, rich gifts of Mother Nature. Yeah. And this company, Monocora, is the company that I love. There's something in Manuka honey called MGO, which is an antibacterial. So and you only find it in Manuka honey. And so it's got the anti-inflammatory, antibacterial, antioxidant properties of this honey just alone, the immune boosting sort of love that this honey brings to the table. And just it's such a unique flavor profile. That on cottage cheese or that on yogurt it is so, that on meal 1, like that I use it, so I tend to train fasted in the morning. Yeah. And especially if I'm going to run, our fitness programming is very similar right now. I'm lifting Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I walk on the treadmill those days later, and then I run a speed day and a longer day, Tuesday, Thursday. And then Saturday and Sunday, like I tend to do something, but I'm not like, I'll go for a ruck or I'll do something like that. But if and when I'm training fasted for the most part, I will have a big tablespoon of that honey. And not only is it delicious, but like it's just like the fuel that you get from that honey is amazing. So if I'm going on a long run, if I'm going to do a 10-mile run, I have like 3 of those little pouches with me. And, I used to actually take Ketone IQ with me.
Yep.
But I found that the honey just gives me more fuel. It gives me more fuel. So I just like throw back one of those every, 3 or 4 miles, and like, it's amazing. It's amazing stuff. Like you got, especially if you're a cottage cheese person, like that on cottage cheese, game changing.
I'll have to try it. Maybe even on the egg tortilla.
Yeah.
Cinnamon,
it's so
a
weird.
little banana.
Honey is like such an interesting ingredient to enhance flavor profile. Like people think, like salt really does enhance a flavor profile. Fat allows us to taste flavor. And I'm not like a big fat guy. I don't love eating a lot of fat. Like my body doesn't really know what to do with it, right?
Sure,
necessarily. I mean, I'm sure scientifically there's something that's happening, but so I tend to really focus on protein and my carbohydrate intake, and then of course fiber. So that's where the fruit and veggies come in for me.
Yeah.
But honey does something in savory food. When you add honey to savory food, it doesn't make the savory food taste sweet. It actually just enhances the flavor profile in general. And that's why that hot honey craze, that spicy honey came out, like whatever 5 years ago, Mike's Hot Honey or whatever it is.
Yep.
Similar to salt, honey enhances a flavor profile.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe I should add that to my salad.
I'm telling you, like, it is so good. It is so good. This was such a fun combo.
Thank you.
You really are like, you have this, and from the minute I met you when you came out to the We'll Wear the Weight event, I just knew that there was a connection. You have such a vibrant energy to you.
Thank you so much.
You're doing the service that you're bringing to people that potentially feel like it's all downhill from here.
Yeah.
Is amazing.
Thank you.
Where can people find you?
Instagram, Hollis M. Tuttle. That's usually the best place. I'm there every day.
And House of Hustle, if somebody wants to look into that.
They can actually, the app is now available in the Apple Store.
Oh, sweet.
It is. But if you go to my Instagram, I have all my links there. You can just DM me. It is me. It's just me. I'm a one-woman show, man.
Let's go. I love it. Awesome.
Yeah, I really appreciate this. Thank you. It's been such a pleasure.
Hollis, you're a gem. And thank you for working with us at Kreatures too.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Kreatures of Habit podcast. These are 45-minute long, value-packed episodes where I get to sit down with awesome people like Hollis and just bring some levity and some light into your life in an optimistic way. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, the price you pay for listening to this podcast is not in money. It's in sharing it. It's in sharing the podcast with your friends, with your family. And if you're feeling super generous, I always say it because it really is the one thing that really helps us grow this podcast. Give us a 5-star rating and write us a small review. That review can just be awesome podcast. That's all it would have to be. It really does help us grow the podcast, which is a massive priority for me in 2025. So I'm asking you for some help there. Give us a rating and a review. It would mean the world. Other than that, you know how much I love you. You know how much I appreciate you. You know how much I love doing this podcast. And I hope I'm bringing some just smile into your day. Just smile into your day. If you're thinking about the new year and you are feeling anxiety, this podcast, the message is get to the gym. Move your body. If you're not moving your body in a way that makes you feel some sort of exertion on a regular basis. It doesn't have to be 5, 6 double days like Hollis and I. It could be 2 days a week, 3 days a week where you're outside and you're walking and you're tracking that walk so that when you get to that 10,000 step mark, you feel the win. Yeah. You feel the win. And that might be 5,000 steps for you to start, 7,500 steps for you, 10,000 steps. And for those of you out there that are walking under your desks and you're doing all those things, maybe you set a goal of 20,000 steps a day. Whatever it is, human beings were put on the planet to move, not to sit, not to stay stagnant, not to be on your couch, walk to the bathroom, walk to your car, sit in your car, drive to work, walk to your desk, walk to the bathroom from your desk, walk back to the car, sit in the car, drive back to your house, walk to your couch, and stay there for the rest of the day. That's not what we were placed here to do. We were placed here to move. So 2025 is the move movement, y'all. Let's move together. I love y'all and appreciate you. Until the next one. Peace.